What's up? It's your girl FrumpyFit. If you don't know who I am, I'm an online weight loss coach who's dedicated to calling out all the BS in the fitness industry and providing you with accurate fitness, nutrition, and weight loss information. Today we're talking about scale weight, tracking your weight loss progress using the scale, and I surprisingly don't get very many questions about using a scale or tracking progress for weight loss in general, even though throughout all the I don't know how many consultations I've done and work with one-on-one clients, I see this messing people up so often on their weight loss journey. Because if you're not tracking progress correctly, then you can't make informed decisions about whether your plan or your strategy for going about weight loss is working. And if you aren't getting results, you may make a change to your plan prematurely, or you may just lose motivation and quit. Because a lot of times, the results are what keeps us going. So the first thing we're going to talk about is understanding what the number on the scale even means. Next, we're going to talk about making sure you actually have a good scale, because if your scale isn't good, it's giving you incorrect information, and then there's almost no point in even tracking it. And then third, we're going to talk about how to put your scale weight into context so you actually can make informed decisions about whether or not your weight loss strategy is working. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is scale best practices. So what are my best tips for how you can get the most out of your scale? And just a quick disclaimer, I will be sharing my scale weight in this video because I'll show you how I use the scale to track my own progress. And if just talking about scales in general doesn't make you feel that good, or talking about a specific number on the scale, then it might be a good idea to skip this video. And the last order of business before we jump into the content, this video is sponsored by Magic Spoon. You guys already know that I'm totally obsessed with Magic Spoon, and it is actually their birthday. So to celebrate, they're offering a limited edition flavor birthday cake in a special 5-pack. They released birthday cake last year and it was such a huge hit, they decided to bring it back. And this flavor, just like all the other ones, is insanely amazing. And it's gluten-free, soy-free, grain-free, sugar-free. It has 0 grams of sugar, 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs for each serving. So in summary, I'm just blown away by the cereal. So make sure you pick up the birthday cake flavor in their special 5-pack for their birthday before the birthday cake flavor sells out. You can use this discount code to get $5 off of your order. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's jump into this scale weight thing and talking about what exactly the number on the scale even means, because I see so many people who I think automatically go to, this is how much body fat I have, when they see the number on the scale, when in reality there's so many things that impact the scale, and a lot of what you're seeing, especially if you're weighing frequently, isn't going to be related to body fat at all. So just kind of the big picture, on the scale you're going to see body fat, but you're also going to see lean mass, which includes your bones, your organs, ligaments, everything else that's not adipose tissue or body fat. In addition to just those two things, you're also going to see fluctuations on the scale, or the scale will be impacted by sodium consumption, carbohydrate consumption, hydration, what time of day you're eating, what time of day you're weighing, that time of the month, stress levels, and things of that nature. And so I wanted to show you guys my own scale weight experience over the last couple of weeks, because my scale weight has been doing weird things, and that's pretty normal. So here's a graph of what my scale weight has looked like over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, it's doing some really weird stuff. Tons of fluctuations are happening, and I know what some of these fluctuations are from. It's also worth noting that I am on my own little weight loss thing right now. My goal is weight loss, or I guess to be more specific, my goal is fat loss. And so I do know that there are some reasons that this is happening. So I just got back into weight training after having quite a long break because of the pandemic. And I always know, for me, I gain weight when I start lifting again. And while I haven't necessarily seen a gain in weight, since my goal is body fat and I'm likely in a calorie deficit, I'm not tracking my calories, so I can't be 100% sure, but I believe that I am, and I think I'm losing body fat, that would explain why the scale didn't go up. It might be kind of staying in the same general range because I'm gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time. In addition to that, I, for example, ate Thai food last night, which was higher in sodium than something that I would make at home. So it makes sense that my scale weight today was a little bit higher than it was yesterday, or it just didn't go down. I also am currently PMSing. I have some health issues that cause my cycle to be like very random and unpredictable. And so I've had all of my usual PMS symptoms, but my period hasn't come. And I usually get the most bloated during PMS rather than during my actual period. And so who knows if I'm bloated right now or not? Like, there are a lot of question marks right now that could be causing the scale to do weird things. So what I need you to do moving forward is that when you look at the number on the scale, you need to remember that that's not just representative of body fat. It's so many other things than that. And I can guarantee that you are going to feel a lot better about getting on the scale when you switch your mindset to include all of these other things. Okay, so the next thing is making sure that you have a good scale. And I had been using the same scale for years, like ever since I moved to Arizona in 2017. And like, I've always known that there was something off about it. Like, it would show me different numbers, even if I would step on it like right after I had just already been on it, amongst so many other weird things that it would do. And so I knew that my scale was sketchy, but I was feeling kind of lost because I didn't know how to do research on finding the most effective scale. But when I did start doing research, I found a website called Consumer Reports where they purchase products and evaluate them. And it costs money, so I paid for it. And I don't think I'm allowed to show you the paid part of it. So I'm just gonna talk to you about it. Turns out that the scale that I had was literally number 10 out of 10. That they purchased and evaluated. It had a score of like 49 out of 100. And so they're testing things like accuracy, consistency, ease of use, and I think one other thing. So I decided to get a new scale based off of this Consumer Reports list. However, when I was looking at it, like, people can write reviews on Consumer Reports as well. And one of the more high rated scales had a negative review saying that it's not consistent at all. So then I went to Amazon because Amazon has millions of reviews on basically everything. And so I looked up 2 different scales that were highly rated on Consumer Reports and read the reviews on Amazon. And I think the thing is, you're never gonna find a scale with like perfect reviews or that's perfectly accurate or perfectly consistent for every single scale that's sold. So you may purchase a scale that's highly rated and like you just got a dud. I don't really know. So given the Consumer Reports list, the Amazon reviews and all of that, I felt comfortable making a decision and I decided to purchase the Amazon Basics scale. The other one that had mostly good reviews was, I think, a Weight Watchers scale. And then this one wasn't on the Consumer Reports list, but I also just found a scale with like an insane number of Amazon reviews that were mostly positive, which is this Eat Smart scale. And so those are the 3 that I would recommend, but I want to share with you a way that you can test the scale. So the first thing that you should do is get on the scale, take a note of what the scale weight is, and then get off. The next thing you should do is pick up an object. You don't need to know the weight of that object and get back on the scale. Make a note of that weight, get off, and get back on the scale with just yourself. Basically replicate the exact same conditions as the first time you got on the scale. If the first and the third weights are the same, that's a pretty good sign that your scale is going to be consistent enough to show you progress. Now, is it perfectly accurately telling you exactly how much you weigh? Maybe not. But at least it's consistent. The purpose of this, where you get an object and get on the scale, is to replicate a small change. So like, if you lose like a pound in a week, you want the scale to be able to show you that. Now, if you do have an object that you know the weight of, then that's even better. You can get on and test it. Like, for example, I have some 35-pound dumbbells in the apartment, and so I put the 35-pound dumbbell on each of the scales to see what it would say. And neither of the scales, like my old one versus my new one, perfectly showed the number that the dumbbell was, but we don't actually know that the dumbbell was perfectly accurate. Like, if the manufacturers of that dumbbell were like hitting it exactly on the mark. But my new scale was way closer than my old one. So that's how I would recommend testing to see if your scale is going to be good enough to show you whatever weight loss results you're getting. And the next thing we want to do related to weighing yourself is be able to put the number that shows up on the scale into context. So I kind of did this in the beginning when I was talking about my own scale weight, right? Like, I'm PMSing. I had Thai food for dinner last night. I started weight training. There are so many different variables, and knowing those variables and how they impact the scale is how I'm able to put my scale weight into context. Another important thing to consider is that you should not only be using the scale to track your progress. At the very least, you should be really paying attention to like how you feel, how your body feels, how your clothes fit, and things like that. Because a lot of times you'll get results where you feel better and maybe you can tell a physical change in the way your clothes fit, or you can see a physical change when you look in the mirror, and it's for some reason not showing up on the scale. When I very first got into weight training, I remember I really took note of what progress I was making after 5 weeks. And after 5 weeks, I had only lost 2 pounds. But when I compared my photos, my progress photos, I could see a big difference in the way that my body looked. So that's another way to put the number on the scale into context. What I'm doing right now to track my own body fat loss is I'm weighing myself on the scale. I'm really paying attention to how I feel, and I'm taking measurements, and I'm also taking progress photos. So that way, since the number isn't changing on the scale in the direction that like makes sense for weight loss, at least I have those other things. And so I have seen an improvement like in the measurement of my waist. I've noticed a big improvement in how I feel, like how my body feels, how I move in my body, my strength in my workouts, how easy it is to go up the 3 flights of stairs to get to my apartment. So I know for a fact that I'm making progress in the direction that I want to go, even though it's not showing me that on the scale. And so the very last thing that we want to talk about is like best practices for weighing. By now you understand all the nuance about like the number that shows up on the scale, and you've tested to make sure that your scale is actually capable of showing you results. Now, how do you make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance to get an accurate reading when you do step on the scale? The main thing that you want to consider is keeping all the variables, as many variables as possible, consistent. So for myself and for all of my clients, I have them and I myself weigh first thing in the morning before I eat or drink anything, and after I've done my morning business, if that's relevant to you. I make sure that my clothing is fairly consistent. This is like TMI, but I always take like my pants off, but I leave my shirt on because my shirt like doesn't weigh very much, but I'm usually wearing like sweatpants or like sweat shorts, and I always am barefoot. So whatever it is for you, make sure it's just consistent. If these conditions don't work for you, like if you can't weigh yourself in the morning, say the only opportunity you have to weigh yourself on the scale is like at the gym, then really focus on keeping those variables consistent. So try to make sure that like the meal that you eat prior to going to the gym to weigh yourself is happening at the same time. You're showing up at the gym at the same time. That meal is relatively similar, at least in size, and make sure that like your clothing is as consistent as possible. Like if you show up at the gym and you step on the scale with your shoes on, your shoes need to be on every single time. And the last thing that I want to bring up in the like best practices category is how often you're weighing yourself. I personally am a fan of weighing more frequently because I love data and I don't have a negative relationship with the scale. It's not bad for me mentally to weigh myself frequently. The benefit to weighing yourself more often is that you're less likely to catch yourself on a fluctuation and not be able to put it into context. So what I would do if I was weighing every single day is I would average all of those weights together to get like my general weight trend for that week. And then I would compare week by week the averages, not the individual daily weights. Because as you can see from like my own scale weight, how are you supposed to interpret this when you're weighing yourself frequently? And my concern, and the concern from a data perspective, is that like, let's say I just happen to weigh myself on a high day compared to all these other days, then how am I able to accurately evaluate my progress? However, if weighing daily is not good for you for whatever reason, you don't have to do that. I don't want you to feel pressured to weigh yourself daily. You can weigh yourself once a week, and that is perfectly fine. The thing with weighing yourself once per week, especially if you're taking the slow and sustainable approach to weight loss, then you need to be super patient, because if you do catch yourself on a high fluctuation, I don't want you to make a decision about your plan or your strategy to lose weight based off of an inaccurate representation of your progress. So if you are weighing weekly, it's going to be extra important that, in my opinion, you wait at least 3 weeks before you determine whether or not your plan is working. And the very last thing that I want to say about the scale is you don't have to weigh yourself in order to lose weight. Like if just taking your scale weight is just not good for you in general, don't feel like you have to. There are so many other ways to track progress. Like I mentioned, measurements, photos, how you feel, how you fit in your clothes. All of those things are just as important or just as helpful as weighing yourself on the scale. Okay, that is everything that I have for you when it comes to the scale. Put any questions that you have in the comments below and I'll try to answer as many as I can. As usual, guys, thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. It means the world to me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here. You can also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.